Hi, I'm Terry for Gaily Dreadful, and I'm here with Anna. I love this movie, I have to say, and I'm always curious when I'm talking with filmmakers who are adapting their short stories because you've done a lot of short stories. So I'm curious what made the decision to make this your feature debut, and also did you kind of have plans to adapt this one while you were working the short story, or how did that kind of come about?
Yeah, it was kind of an amazing kismet where I was able to make the short film with Bite Size Halloween. And it was the second day of shooting. It was a 2 day shoot. So it was the second day of shooting.
Wow.
And one of the EPs came on set and was like, we really believe in you. These dailies are amazing. Your team is amazing. Like, we just want to make a movie with you guys. Can you pitch us the feature version of this? And I was like, oh, the feature version of this. Totally, totally. So I kind of whipped it up quite fast, although I did know instinctually that there was a feature there. Just from a metaphorical perspective, I was like, this little guy can grow and grow and grow, as we all know. And so I was really excited when they offered that. That was definitely not part of the plan initially. And then I got really like lucky, and I was very stoked when they were like, we want the feature.
Hell yeah. So also practical effects. I love them. I miss seeing them. Can you talk about how your team designed the appendage and what the inspirations was behind it? Because like I can kind of see basket case a little bit in some of the designs. So I'm
I know,
curious.
for sure. Yeah. I mean, practical, I'm just such a big fan. And I've been working with practical effects for since I graduated school for a really long time. And I've actually worked with Amber Marie, our creature designer, since then. So we've been buddies for a really
Wow.
long time. And I think that really helped this movie because we knew each other's tastes really well. And we had a shorthand with each other when you only have like a month and a half of prep or something for, practical effects that are this major. It's like very crucial to have a good team. And so, Amber and I, we were looking at, Belial, we were looking at Kuatu from Total Recall, we were watching The Fly, we were, really just immersing ourselves in all these references. And then Amber and I would just text back and forth. She would send me 3D models. We would work with this amazing digital artist named Dougie Pledger. It was a lot for, 3 stages to design this stuff. So the fact that we could text back and forth and just constantly be in communication about those references, and during the process of making it, she'd be like, how do you feel about this level of, cheek? Should we have more cheek, less cheek? I was like, for more cheek. So, that was really helpful and crucial.
Yeah. Wow. So I kind of continuing along with this, the idea of like personifying internalized pain or anxiety or the kind of negativity as a living creature, what was kind of the inspiration behind going in that direction?
Yeah. My therapist.
Oh,
I had a session in therapy where she was like, let's just take a step back for a second and let's take your anxiety and your depression and whatever's going on in that moment and turn it into a character and talk to it. And it kind of blew me
wow.
away. I was like, oh, like this is a part of me, but it's also something that I can interact with and treat how I want to treat it, And so that definitely stayed in my mind when I was writing this and was kind of a core inspiration, I would say.
Oh yeah. The other thing that I love hot horror and comedy when they're combined together, and so I'm kind of curious because the story is very grounded, even though we're kind of dealing with a shit talking monster. And I'm always curious how filmmakers involved in both that straddle that line, how you kind of balance the horror with the comedy, because again, we're dealing with such serious themes here, but there is a sense of dark comedic overtone sprinkled throughout.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a tough tone to ride. It's really hard. And the way I approached this was we're talking about mental health and we're talking about a mental health struggle. So it has to feel really sincere and not like we're making fun of that. That we're not
Right.
making fun of that. So the comedy can't be doing that. And so I sort of approached it like this is almost a character study, psychological drama, and then dropped in the comedic elements from there. Because I do think that there is an absurdity to like the thoughts that we have about ourselves. It's like insane. It's like, what is that? And so I really wanted to capture that in the physical form. And so it was a constant from the writing process through color correction, being like, okay, we're allowed to be funny here. We're allowed to be absurd. We're not allowed to be funny here because this is supposed to be really sincere. And that was a constant back and forth, I would say.
Okay. And you touched on mental health, and so I'm curious because horror has not had the greatest history dealing with the way it portrays mental health, but I think we've seen a lot of movies recently that tackle maybe horror as a way of exploring mental health issues, vice it coming from mental health issues. And so I'm curious, sort of like how that kind of worked with you in developing this.
I feel like horror is just such an exciting space to experiment and take risks and use metaphor and
Yeah.
visuals to do these things. And so I felt that void as well, where I was seeing a lot of grief stuff, which is like freaking amazing, trauma stuff. And this
Mhm.
does straddle that in a way, but I really just wanted to purely make a movie about mental health in the horror space. And so that was always on my mind. The void was always on my mind. I'm excited to keep doing stuff like this. And, it is cool that horror can offer that space. Like, I don't think any other genre can really do that in this way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is it. So, but thank you so much for doing this,
6 minute
Anna.
theory.
I know, 6 minutes.
Thank you so much for
But
having me.
thank you.